Hey everybody, John Fenton here, the CEO Sensei. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me at the CEO Sensei. And with my good friend, former colleague, and good friend, Charles Bennett. Charles is the founder and CEO of Process Partners. And that name says a lot about what his business is. But Charles, I'm just so happy to be with you this morning.
Well, John, I'm happy to be with you also, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about our firm and what some of the lessons we've learned over the 16 years we have been in business, as well as the many years before that.
Yeah, awesome. And you know, you and I have known each other a long time, right?
We have gone back a few years, absolutely.
We both have a little bit of gray hair, don't we?
Yes, maybe mine doesn't show as much, but yeah.
It's all about the lighting, my friend. It's all about the lighting.
I keep the lighting down.
There's a song about that somewhere, I forget. But anyway, it's probably a country western song. But it's just so great to be with you today. And, you know, I've always considered you a good friend of mine, and you and I did some work together years ago. And our paths have kind of crossed many times over the years. You're from North Carolina originally, I believe, right?
Yes, that's correct. I think we actually played golf a couple of times.
That's true. Yes, not so great, but it was a great experience. Great time
to be together. I don't remember.
My golf game is getting better though, actually, as I get older. So eventually I'll be old enough that I should shoot my own age. So hopefully
I'm working on that.
So tell me about your company, Process Partners. Let everybody who's watching or listening learn more about your business and you.
Okay. Process Partners, we started back in 16 years ago, about 2004, when Sarbanes-Oxley became a hot topic, and we saw an opportunity to leverage our understanding of processes, controls, technology, having been in both private industry and in consulting in those areas, and saw the opportunity to leverage that to work with CPA firms as they address clients' readiness for Sarbanes-Oxley compliance. So we teamed up with CPA firms. We kind of took over the IT governance part while they did the non-IT part, and it worked out extremely well. We obviously added a lot of value to the compliance part in terms of the value added. We added was like process improvement. We were not just going to go in and look and identify controls and test those, but we were going to provide guidance in terms of how to improve that process, because controls we consider somewhat of a non-value added task. Really add value to the product or the service, but they had to be done. So how do we do those efficiently?
Right. Is there a particular, I know you're an industrial engineer, right?
Yes, industrial engineer, MBA, former CPA. I let my license go a few years ago when I found that I was needed to focus more on technology.
Right. And is there a particular, I've read obviously, Edward Deming and all the different, Six Sigma and all these different platforms or processes. Is there one that you particularly look to help in how you work with your clients in terms of developing processes?
Yes, I would say we certainly subscribe to Lean and Lean Six Sigma concepts, but we've always, in a consulting, I've learned one thing: clients aren't particularly enamored by buzzwords like Lean Six Sigma, but the concepts are extremely valid and very much a foundation of what we do. Whether it's any process, everything we look at is kind of a process. Even the project that we might undertake for a client is a process, and we apply those same concepts. But we have found that while we subscribe to those methodologies and those best practices, we have found one of the big lessons we've learned over the time, and I've learned this, been doing in private industry and consulting for many years. It probably took me 5 to 10 years to realize that people were the really key. We can have a great methodology, we can have the best practices, we can go in and tell the client, hey, here's what you're doing wrong, change this. It really didn't work very well until we realized that, hey, we had to understand that people have to believe in what they're being told to do.
Right. So, obviously Sarbanes-Oxley was just such a huge thing when it first came out, and it was mandated by regulations, and there was a big ramp up, in the early years of 2000s, and
the heyday.
Heyday, right? It transformed a lot of businesses, I think, too. But beyond that, we're way past that now, obviously, right? So, and it's become more the norm, I think,
Yes.
in most industries and in different levels, right? Private companies and public companies. So, but what are what are the key things that you see that are most important for companies to have to really, have a great company, great business? What are the key factors you look for to any successful business?
Well, that's really a great question, and I would say it's pretty much a mom and apple pie to an extent. But we find there's still some really gaps in what companies really do. And a matter of fact, one of the books, many books I've read in terms of business, Knowing Doing Gap, is still the Knowing Doing Gap.
Okay, knowing doing gap.
Yes.
Okay.
And company people and individuals and companies know what to do, but they don't often do it. So that is, for example, a good example, or we very much believe that obviously you have to have a strategy, but you have to be able to monitor through performance metrics how you're progressing to that. And we continually find that companies and very large corporations as well as small companies don't do a really good job of establishing metrics and computing them correctly and monitoring them and keeping people accountable based on metrics. So I would say that's, and the people have to, and the reason they don't do that is they don't really understand, I think, the value and the purpose and the vision of what metrics can do. So, and certainly there's certainly plenty of exceptions. I don't know what percentage do a good job at that or not, but I think you'll find that the ones that do, like GE, was big on that, did very well.
So is there a certain size company you typically like to work with, or is it scalable to any size company? Tell me more about kind of the ideal client or ideal customer for you.
The ideal client or customer for us would be somewhere between probably as low as 15 to 20 million up to probably 300 or 400 million.
Okay.
But we have clients in the public sector that are that size, and divisions of larger companies are that size. But we find probably the sweet spot would be about 100 to 200 million.
Yeah.
Family-owned businesses. We have clients that have been in business over 125 years in a pretty much basic manufacturing industry, and they've weathered a lot of storms, and they're doing well in this storm. So there are a lot of cultural values that keep businesses in place.
Yeah, tell me more about that, because I talk a lot about, the current situation, the current, crisis that's going on in the, from a health perspective and the economy. You and I have experienced a lot of stuff, right? What's that commercial? We know a lot because we've done a lot or whatever, seen a lot.
That's it.
So
exactly.
We have seen a lot. Now, nobody has really seen anything like this, I don't think, in recent history. Maybe you have to go back 100 years or 75 years or whatever, right? Or 70 years. But, what are some things that you see that you think are really important for companies right now to kind of get through what's going? So there's two time frames. There's the immediacy, right? The immediate time frame, crisis and survival. But beyond that, so what do you think is important for companies to really focus on now?
Well, I'm a eternal optimist, and so I know that this is an extremely most difficult time that I think anyone of our generation has seen. But as I've been talking to clients and companies, I emphasize a couple of things. One is it is that while we're in a big decline at this point in time, that's going to start changing, and it's going to change as a result of things we do. But it's you have to focus on the immediate needs, first, and take care of the cash management is big in every client I talk to. Obviously, people's health is big, but I'm working with them in developing the concept of readiness. Okay, when it's going to change, the businesses and the economy and the virus and the pandemic is going to change. So you have to be ready when that happens. You don't want to say, okay, now let's start to get ready. You want to be thinking about, for example, we have a number of clients that put on hold projects that were initiated, but so I've been coaching them, just in this process, or advising them, it's okay, let's don't just stop thinking about that. continue thinking about it, and providing them with some suggested action tasks, as we call interim tasks. Not doing any, the project's on hold, there's no billing, there's no fees, but let's be ready when the time is right. So I think that's a big lesson. I think, I'm an optimist. I think there's going to be some big opportunities for those who are ready when it happens. There's a lot of preparation. We've been communicating with our clients anytime we see some email or a newsletter that has some guidance in terms of how to reopen. We distribute those to our clients, and just to kind of keep them aware and help them prepare.
So it sounds like you're really focusing on strengthening or deepening the relationship with your existing clients.
Absolutely. I tell you, I've been in consulting for a long time, and I've been talked to a number of people who said, I'd like to get into consulting. What do you think? I said, well, number one, you had to have a network. You had a network of people who are trusted advisors, network of people in businesses, and the way you develop that network is obviously through relationships.
Yeah.
Being an industrial engineer and a CPA, we're not really known for our people skills. So I won't say this has been easy, but I'm married to a wonderful model of how to develop and maintain relationships. My wife, Pat, is just incredible.
Yeah. So your wife, Pat, has a big influence on you?
She has. Not as much as she would like, maybe. But
Of course not. Of course not. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm a recovering CPA myself, my friend. So, so what do you think is your secret to success? You've been doing this for over 16 years on your own company, and you were, obviously in IT consulting and all that, and processes and things before that. So, what's the secret to your success, do you think?
Well, I really think it's getting to understand what the client's concerns and needs are, in truly not just in terms of framing those in terms of what I can do, but just understanding those, and putting people first. You have to enjoy what you're doing, and I have found that in my consulting career, I did a lot of non-people type things, and that was kind of work. But what I really enjoy doing is putting teams together, starting at the executive level in the project teams, and letting them solve their own problems by facilitating. I have to say I'm passionate about that. I think that's been part of the success. I don't have a stake in the game. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm just trying to get them from point A to point B.
Right. Just trying to help them, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Just trying to help them, right?
That's bottom line.
Yeah. Well, that's a real testament to your longevity and the things that you've done. Now I know you're an avid, you have some hobbies, and I know one of them we have an affinity for, both of us, right? So you love to fly fish, isn't that right?
I do. I really do. My son got me started on that. He's an avid and very good fly fisherman. I'm still in the learning stage, but I love it. I love the outdoors, and fly fishing, as you know, it gives you a lot of time to think and concentrate. And while I like people, you're doing it with groups a lot of times on trips. But when you're out there on the stream, you're out there by yourself.
Yeah, that's really important, right? That's what I love about fly fishing, and is having, being out there in nature and being with your own thoughts. And it's interesting, right? Now in this current situation that we're all faced, and it's starting to evolve and change. Now we're starting to get back to maybe business as a new normal, maybe. That, a lot of us have had a lot of time to contemplate, a lot of free time, and a lot of people aren't really used to that, right?
That's right. It's been a challenge.
So tell me about, go ahead.
No, that's been a challenge.
Yeah.
I've found most of my free time has been taken up in painting the house or pressure washing the driveway.
Oh yeah, we redid the garage. So it was a long time coming. Thinking about fly fishing, is there any particular special trip that you've taken that just stands out for you that's kind of a bucket list trip?
Oh gee,
that you've done?
Yes, there are a couple. The first would be for a period of 3 or 4 years. I would fly to Seattle, Washington, where my son was, and we would go fly fishing for steelhead salmon for about 2 years. And that has to be just incredible to do that. You know, you're flying all the way across the country. I decided I was not going to calculate the cost per fish.
Right.
But we had, that is an incredible time. Had incredible. To the other one, there's a couple other ones. You're going to be talking about fly fishing, but
there you go.
One was trips to Canada. I did 3 or 4 times with a group of about 6 or 8 guys, fly fishing for smallmouth bass and pike.
Nice.
In the Canadian waters. And then most recently was my first trip to Montana, fishing on the Missouri River there. And so it was just incredible too, with a bunch of guys and the biggest trout I've ever seen. So, you know, I hope to have a few more bucket lists. How about you?
I pretty much stayed in Georgia. I've done some North Carolina, trout fishing, but I love the Soquel River. Lots of big trout in the Soquel River. Maybe not even 2 hours from where I live, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I love it. I'd love to do a trip out west. That's one of my one of my bucket list trips is to go out west and fly fish. Maybe go to a dude ranch, and wear a cowboy hat and ride a horse and fly fish and stuff. Eat meals, on open fire. I did have a cowboy. I did have an inclination to be a cowboy when I was younger, a lot younger.
Okay. I never knew that. So you like country and western?
That's right. But I'm not a big country western fan, obviously. I mean, I love, like it, but it's not my thing. But so, if there, you mentioned, some books that you read. What do you like to read? Anything you like to read for fun?
Well, I like to read mysteries, spy,
Okay.
But I have to admit, that's something that has been frustrating. Haven't really had the time to get back to that, which I need to. And it's interesting with all the, you would think with now I have more time, but it's amazing how busy you are, doing things, keeping, in touch with people as well as doing all the to-dos.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I've been very busy the last couple of months, which is interesting, right? A lot of Zoom meetings and webinars and speaking and all that kind of stuff and coaching from afar, which thank God for technology, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Charles, let me, just to kind of wrap up our time today, it's been great to have you. Is there one thought you'd like to leave or one message you'd like to share that you think is really important to get across today?
Well, I would say that in terms of today, I would say one is just things are going to get better, and they get better if we all individually, have that mind focus. If you're thinking positive and you're thinking about what you have your own vision of what things will be like, and you have to take into account that it's going to be different, but it doesn't mean it's going to be negative, and put a positive spin on that. The old positive thinking, and Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind. What do you see out there?
Absolutely. So be positive. Readiness is important, right? Yes, be ready, totally. Right? Yes. Plan now, because we know we're going to come out of this at some point.
Absolutely. And get your vision, set appropriately.
Absolutely.
I have found that, with people being the focus, you can't be, like our motto is strategy-driven processes in technology. We leave out people because people aren't good at being driven. People need to be pulled to something.
Sometimes, yeah. And tell everybody how they can reach you, or how they can connect with you.
Okay, the best is that my email is cbennett@processpartners.com.
Great.
That's double N's and double T's. Telephone number is 404-408-6373.
Yeah, great. We'll put that information in the show notes as well, so in the text, so people will see that as well.
Very good. I appreciate this opportunity, John.
No, absolutely. My pleasure. I love doing this. I love connecting with CEOs and entrepreneurs, learning from them and sharing with them. And I want to thank you for being on with me today. Stay safe, my friend. Be well. And maybe you and I can get on the Chattahoochee or the Soquel River at some point.
Well, you just took the words out of my mouth. Exactly. I'm ready.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Charles Bennett, Process Partner, CEO and founder. You can find him, email him at cbennett@processpartners.com, or his phone number. That'll be in the show notes. And again, thank you, Charles. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you, John. Enjoyed it very much. You
John
too.
Fenton, the CEO Sensei here, signing off. Thank you, everybody.